Lynn Swann told me, he said, now, Fitz, you can't have a big introduction for the introducer of the introducer. So while you like to drone on and on and on with your little comments, keep it short and sweet. I will just say this about Lynn Swann. When you think of the Serra Hall of Fame, the Bay Area Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame, a national championship at USC, 4 Super Bowls in Pittsburgh, a broadcaster so accomplished that I look at his resume with the number of Olympics. This guy did the Iditarod, for God's sakes. Unbelievable person, unbelievable player, coming back to Serra High School, the one and only Lynn Swann.
Thank you, thank you. Charlie, thank you very much. Father Bradley, hi. Oh, man, I'll tell you, it certainly is a pleasure to be back here, and this is home for me, too. Certainly Serra High School, but certainly because having grown up here in San Mateo and living now back in Pittsburgh, I never thought I was going to live in Pittsburgh. I always thought I was coming back to California. But Pittsburgh became home, so having the chance to come out here and seeing, of course, my mom and dad is very important to me. For all of you who don't know, my mother and father made me go to Serra High School. You know, and for the 3 guys in that video, they were sitting there, you know, it's like when I was a freshman, I thought I had all the answers. I thought I knew what was going on. My mother made me come to Serra High School. I did not want to come here. I wanted to go to San Mateo High School. She made me. She said, try summer school. What summer school makes you want to go to that high school? Going to summer school is like, you know, being in jail. You want to be out and playing, now you got to be in summer school and you got to do all this homework and stuff. She said, if you go here and you don't like it, yeah, you don't have to go. I told her I don't like it, I'm not going. They're digging a hole, building a swimming pool. I don't swim. Who cares? She says, you're going for a year. Try it, see if you like it. The year goes by. I knew what the answer was. I told my mom and dad, I said, Mom, Dad, I'm not going back to Serra High School. I don't want to go. She goes, you're going for 4 years because that's the best education you're going to get, and that's it. I go, yeah, okay. So, Mom and Dad, thank you very much. Now, when I was at Serra High School, I did not know that there was a guy named John Robinson who had gone to Serra High School. And I thought I was a pretty good athlete when I was here, you know, and the whole thing. And you know, I didn't think I was conceited or anything, but I thought I was pretty good. Was that Rich Stapin horse back there? Denny, was that you? Who said that? Anyway, I thought I was pretty good. Of course, you know, when I went down to USC and I lined up as a freshman, and freshmen weren't eligible to play, and I was a high school All-American, and again, I thought I was pretty good. And I walked out to that freshman football field for the very first time, and there were 50 freshmen out there practicing, and I thought again, I was pretty good. And 48 of those 50 freshmen were All-Americans, and I was going, ooh. I understand how you feel about being cut, Father Joe. Yeah. I was cut at Serra High School my sophomore year when I tried out for the varsity football team. Coach Freitas cut me, put me down on the JVs. I was a sad little puppy. My middle brother Calvin, he was at San Mateo High School on the varsity football team. I was feeling kind of low. And then the guy who was a wide receiver broke his arm. As I said a couple of weeks ago, months ago when I was here, that rumor that I was in his neighborhood is not true. It was an accident. There were no cell phones, no cameras, nothing, no recording of it at all. I first met John Robinson when I was being recruited to college. And my oldest brother had gone to school, who's a dentist. He had gone to school in Oregon, and I kind of had a good feeling from stories he told about Oregon. And this guy, John Robinson, called me up, and he was recruiting me to Oregon. And he told me he had some good football players up there. There's a guy named Dan Fouts, who played at St. Ignatius, was a quarterback up there. A guy named Tom Graham, who was a linebacker. I mean, he was as hard as concrete. And, you know, made you want to be on his team, or else he was going to hit you if you weren't. You know, Bobby Moore, Ahmad Rashad was there. And I remember I got off the airplane up in Oregon, stepped off the airplane. There was a banner, a big banner, Lynn Swann, welcome to Oregon. You know, Danny Fouts, Bobby Moore, Tom Graham, and John Robinson was there. And he was going like, Lenny, you're going to be good for us. We got this guy. Yeah. He's running back. He's going to play, but we got to have somebody to throw the ball to. And you're going to be our guy. Are you going to fit? You're going to work here. You belong here. He almost had me. Almost went to Oregon. I didn't go. I went to USC instead. But John Robinson came to his senses. He realized he couldn't do without me. So he left Oregon and came to USC. Okay, my junior year, he became the running back coach. Now, Coach Robinson is a very emotional and very intense guy. Okay? Came from a great program up in Oregon, had some great coaches up there. He was a winner. And he always had a way of getting the best out of the people he coached. And he coached Heisman Trophy running backs at USC, national champion football teams, head coach for the Rams. I mean, you know, you really know his history. But the reason why he was so successful, he was able to motivate and get people to believe in themselves and what they could do and what they could be. He goes, I know how good you think you are. Let me tell you how good you can really be. And I remember one of these moments, because he coached running backs and I'm a receiver. We're sitting in the hotel room and getting ready to play Stanford. We got to beat Stanford. They beat us last year. This is 1972. We got a shot to be national champions. And we go up to play Stanford. And we had this running back on the team, Rod McNeil. Supposed to be a great running back, and Rod had fumbled the ball a little bit the year before and was kind of down on himself. And I was sitting in this room with Manfred Moore and Rod McNeil and Sam Cunningham and myself. We're all sitting in this room. You know, curfew was coming up. Coaches were coming around doing bed check. All of a sudden, the door flies open in the room. And here comes John Robinson. And John Robinson comes flying in the room, and Rod McNeil's right there, and he gets right in Rod's face. He goes, Rodney, you're going to play a great football game tomorrow. Talk to him about how important it was for him to be at his best, to go out there and play hard, work hard, and he deserved this, and that he could be the best player on that football field. And it meant more to him to go out and play well for himself than just winning a football game. Got right in his face, and he walked out the door. Never said anything to anybody else in the room. 4 other guys sitting in the room going, what the hell was that? But Rod was stunned. Next day he came out, played a great ball game. Okay? John Robinson has that kind of intensity. And he's always had it from his days at Serra High School and building relationships. As good a coach as he was at every level, he was better at building the relationships and building a foundation for people to succeed. For players he had at USC that he brought to the Rams, when he went back to USC as a coach and worked with the administration, making sure he built a foundation and a pathway for those young men to succeed. I always knew John Robinson was a great Trojan. But for everybody who has success, the most important foundation, I believe, comes from what you experience when you're in high school. Because you create the foundation that builds a foundation that gives you the options to move forward. John Robinson got that here at Serra High School. Many of you out there have gotten that foundation. I'm honored tonight to introduce not a man who was my coach, but a man who I can call my friend, head coach, USC, the Los Angeles Rams. How many times can I make you stand up and sit down? John Robinson.
Good to see you, man. It's good. Lynn Swann lied to you about the trip to Oregon. I did have Dan Fouts and other players and song girls and the band and everything, and Lynn Swann got off the airplane and said to me, "No chance am I going to this dumpy place. Give me half of the expense money and we'll have a good time." And I said, "Well, I'm going to get even with your ass, boy." So I followed him all the way to USC. I think Lynn probably represents what we all would like the people we root for in sports to be. He represents everything that's good, and the reason he does is not because of him. He's just another guy. But he has the two greatest parents I have ever seen. The Swan folks, stand up, Mr. and Mrs. Swan. Stand up, let this group see it. Yeah. And the uniqueness of Serra is that there's another family. Average son, kind of like Lynn, the Bradys. Mr. and Mrs. Brady, please stand up and let us acknowledge what greatness is. I think all of us who have made our living in sports just recognize how important the family is, how important young people coming from a background where they have discipline and love and all of those things, what a leg up it is for all of those people. I came from Daly City, California. And that's up there, you know, most people have never seen Daly City because it's so damn foggy up there. But there were about 4 or 5 of us that staggered out of that fog and came down here to Serra. Some of them are here tonight, Fred Bertetta, Mike Laramie, and a couple of, and we all piled into some of the worst automobiles you have ever seen and drove down here. And our cars made it 3 out of 5 times. We hitchhiked, we took buses, we took trains just to come here and to get coached by Jesse Freitas. Now, Jesse Freitas did not say nice things to you. Jesse Freitas was the toughest coach I've ever been around, and the guy, I just can't tell you how great he was. And all of us, Lynn and everybody that played here, remembers him. I got a chance to take him back to Notre Dame with the USC team. He went on the team plane, and you know, and he didn't say a lot. He just watched the game and stood on the sideline. I made a couple calls, and he went, "No, that wasn't." But as Bob Ferguson would tell you, Notre Dame wasn't worth a damn, so we won the game pretty easy. But that experience of us, those years coming to school here, was truly wonderful. It's a privilege for me to come back. It's a privilege for me to see so many of you who care so much about this place. You know, caring is something that we kind of lose track of. We are so self-involved and involved in our own environment to care so much about an institution. It's really impressive and emotional to me. The people at Serra guided me and gave me a chance to go to college. Len Casanova, who was at Santa Clara for years, was the coach at Oregon, and the connection. Jesse Freitas played at Santa Clara, and I got to Oregon, and I wasn't worth a damn. You know, I mean, they misrepresented me to Cas because I went up to Oregon and got a scholarship and had a great experience there. and got to coach there for a number of years and went on to USC and so on. But it was a special time here. And the reason that I had a chance to succeed, because as Father mentioned earlier, people here cared about me. People here would say, hey, well, let's help this clown from Daly City. And so that was very, very significant in my life. When I got the coaching job at USC, I was only there a short time, and we decided to have this big fundraiser up here in the Bay Area. There are a lot of USC alums here, and we wanted to have some sort of a big splash. I was a nobody. Nobody knew who I was at SC. And so we come up here, and I got this great idea. Another member of the Daly City contingent was John Madden, and he and I grew up together. John went to Reardon High School for, about an hour and a half. And then he transferred to Jefferson and went on to greatness. And, John sold beer. Hell, he did everything. And he coached a little too. But I thought I needed a famous guy to kind of, get a big push for our alums. And I called John, and he didn't want to do it, and he bitched and moaned. But he finally agreed to it, and I went over and picked him up. And he came out of his house, got in my car, and got in the back seat. And handed me a chauffeur's cap. So what the hell's, you're just a clown from Daly City, don't give me all that. Anyway, we're driving, and we're trying to get to this function. I'm driving pretty fast. And sure enough, the cop stops the car, and the light's flashing, and the guy comes up and says, what's going on here? And I told him, officer, I wasn't doing anything. And he said, yeah. He said, first of all, you didn't have your seatbelt on. And I said, yeah, I had it on. And he said, no, you didn't have it on. And so it was going bad. And I thought, I got to do something here. And I said, officer, great idea. Use this clown in the back seat. And I said, officer, sitting in the back seat is a great American, a great coach, a great announcer, John Madden. Why don't we let him decide whether I had my seatbelt on? And the officer looks in and says, hey, man, Coach Madden, I'm a Raider fan, go Raiders, and all that, And I thought, I'm in now, baby. He says, okay, Coach, did this idiot up here in the front seat have his seatbelt on or not? John got that puffiness that he does on TV and, cleared his throat and said, officer, I've known this man for 40 years, and I know better than to ever argue with him when he's been drinking. I missed that function at USC. But I did have the great fortune to coach at a place that is unique. USC down through the years has been one of the great universities in America, and it is becoming now academically one of the best universities. It wasn't when Lynn went there. But it certainly has. My second year, we go back to South Bend, Indiana, to play Notre Dame, and Bob Ferguson was standing there. And it's a great. If you haven't ever been to a game there, it's one of the great experiences in the world. And we go and we pull up. This is 1977. Both teams are rated high, and we pull up to the locker room, and there are 1,000 people just standing around, and the cops are trying to clear a path for it to get our buses up there, and we get off, and I get off, and I was raised in obviously Catholic high school, Catholic grammar school, and I get off the bus, and standing right in front of me are two nuns, and they have their habits on, and they just look just like all the nuns that I taught me in grammar school, and I said, hi, sister, it's good to see you, and the one nun, kind of the leader of the two, said, we're going to beat the hell out of you people today. So I got a real understanding of what the relationship between USC and Notre Dame. They were the good guys and we were the bad guys. But that relationship has gone on, and you know, it got so, I think, and this, Lynn, you know this, we eventually have a weakness at SC that we tend to feel sorry for certain schools, and Notre Dame is one of them, and that's why we let them beat us this year. Bob, you will, I'm sure, recognize that that's a fact, but we had a season this year where the wheels just came off. Our football team, you know, was expected to be the #1 team in the nation, which was ridiculous. It just wasn't that good. But then, like everything, when expectations exceed your ability to perform, things start happening to you. The LA Lakers are going through that right now, and all of a sudden, people will start saying, I confess he did it, and it's his fault, and all of that. And so our football team staggered a little bit this year. I had the good fortune of, when I left SC, to go to the LA Rams and spent 9 years. Georgia Frontieri was our owner. And because she owned our team all 9 years, I am definitely going to heaven. My experiences there were unique. We did some things that you just wouldn't believe, and I will not tell you about it. But I did have, recently a guy came up to me and said, I loved your teams with the Rams. Now, I grew up here and was the best 49er fan you could possibly be. Y.A. Tittle, Hugh McElhaney, Billy Wilson, all the, gosh, they were the best. John and I used to go out there and 2 or 3 hours before the game, try to sneak in. And we would do, Kezar was hard to sneak in. And we eventually could get in. We'd sell cushions, but we were the ultimate 49er fans. But then I went to the Rams, and after I got that first check, I hated the 49ers. But we had a great rivalry with them, Joe Montana, Bill Walsh, you know, some of the great games, Ronnie Lott, who had played at USC. But I did have a guy come up to me and said, I loved the Rams. He said, I just love going to the games. He said, you reminded me of Billy Graham when you were with the Rams. I said, what? He said, yeah. He said, you and Billy Graham. He said, you both could fill Anaheim Stadium with 60,000 people, and within 10 minutes have everybody there saying, Jesus Christ. And I say, yeah, you're right about that. Football has been my life. As Lynn Swann, or we have benefited greatly by the game. The game is probably as strong now as it's ever been, but it's facing a crisis. The injury factor is just as serious as it can be. I think it probably drove Lynn Swann out of the game before he probably should have, because of the seriousness of the injuries to the head. We need to make adjustments in this game, and I think it's going to come more from high school coaches, people who are going to be able to teach the fundamentals of the game a little differently. I've met Pat here today. I think he's a great guy, and you're very fortunate to have such a good coach. But it is crucial that this game, we adjust this game, because we cannot have people saying, no, not football. Football is too important, too significant in the development of people like myself, people like Lynn Swann, people like so many of you out there. It plays such a role, and it gives the teacher an opportunity, a platform to deal with young people, you know, in an emotional and feeling basis. So it's going to be an interesting time for us to change football. Not the professional game, that's a different, but college football, high school football, we need to make sure we do everything we can do to make sure the game is safe, because it's just too much of a treasure in America for any of us to see it. You know, we just don't want to see that happen. I came to Serra because my high school, or my grammar school, put together a conversation with the people at Serra, and it gave me a scholarship to Serra High School. At that time, there wasn't anything like that. These people looked at me and looked at the situation my family was in and said, we need to come forward. So somebody, I don't know who, somebody like you, stepped up and gave me a chance to go to high school. When you look at in my life, whether it was how pivotal it was into my sense of direction. When I got here, the priests, they were all the teachers were priests with a couple of exceptions. And they had a significant impact on me. I wound up being the student body president my senior year. I almost ruined the damn school. I did. We initiated a bunch of stuff. You don't want to hear about it. But Father Maher was the prefect of discipline, and he got so mad at me, he says, how could you ruin my school so fast? But these people cared about me. They gave me an opportunity. And that opportunity exists again. We saw a film about young people who have taken advantage of the opportunity. So if you give people a chance, put them in the right environment, and get people there who love them and care about them and are willing to extend themselves, you have what I think is a perfect storm for success. Everything about my life has been based on how can you make this person achieve what they're capable of doing. Lynn mentioned it. How can you get the best out of what you have? Well, you have a banquet like this. You get people like you, pour a little wine at each table, and you make people understand that they can significantly impact the future of our community, our country, and it, I think, is a wonderful thing. Thank you for having a chance to have me come back here. Thank you for being who you are. I'm an old Trojan, I'm an old Oregon Duck, but before any of that, I'm a Serra Padre. Thank you very much.